Class will start now. Next right. Proceed about 1 mile to Northern Boulevard.
Wisconsin and Chicago. The editorial board of the Wall Street Journal says it's a 5-alarm warning to Republicans about 2024. Morgan?
Well, I don't know how much chance we had in Chicago, but Wisconsin certainly. I mean, what are we learning from that state Supreme Court race? First of all politics is local, even in Supreme Court justice cases. I also think that Republicans and conservatives have spent a lot of time sort of decrying Soros and making him the boogeyman. And after the Supreme Court decision, not just Roe v. Wade, but also getting so many conservatives, a majority of conservatives on the Supreme Court, we kind of had a party and went home and went to sleep. And what did Democrats do? They clearly have gone to work. There was about $45 million in funding per week for this state Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin. So conservatives have to get to work. They have to get in the fight. Complaining about Soros is not going to be enough.
Well, and on the issue of abortion, the Federalist had an interesting piece that they say that the GOP has to control messaging on abortion, but not run away from it. They say Republican politicians who boldly went on offense by passing pro-life legislation and allying themselves with grassroots activists for the unborn successfully warded off legal and political challenges in fall of 2022, and as a result, they were rewarded with double-digit victories. Mark, they talk about Ohio, Florida, Texas. So is it go harder on the messaging or leave it alone and worry about Wisconsin happening?
Go smarter. I mean, every governor who signed an abortion restriction won in 2022. And they're the people who are directly responsible for these policies. I have skepticism that like a low turnout, off-month election in Wisconsin is a bellwether for the Republican Party. If you look at the polling, Harvard Capps poll, 72% of Americans support restricting abortion to 15 weeks or less, including 60% supermajority of Democrats. So most Americans are not for the democratic orthodoxy of abortion on demand up until the moment of birth. When Republicans, as long as there's a safe harbor that you don't want to ban all abortion, but you want to have reasonable restrictions, it's a winning issue for Republicans. It's only when the Democrats portray them as being against any exceptions that it becomes a political
problem. When they go judge shopping in Texas for a drug that's been available for 20 years with almost no problem, and the judge says, oh yeah, it looks like they want to ban abortion totally, and that's a loser politically, not only with suburban women, but I think Americans overall say abortion should be legal.
What would you say, though, there was judge shopping in the case that came out of Washington State?
No, I wouldn't. I have to say there was only one judge in that area, one federal judge. They went to that area with that specific intent to find a judge. A Trump appointee with a long history of being opposed.
I will tell you, I've seen a lot of cases filed in the Ninth Circuit for that very reason.
Well, you can't liberal court. I'm talking about one judge alone.
I gotcha. Okay, we're going to leave it there. But now that you're warmed up, panel, stay put. President Biden met with tech leaders this week to discuss the recent artificial intelligence boom. Are predictions of an AI takeover overblown or right on target? We'll discuss.
Deal with some very difficult challenges like disease and climate change. But we also have to address the potential risks to our society.
You can't predict it.
Let's look at yesterday's sell-off on Wall Street.
Big gyrations in terms of bond market.
But when you listen to us, you'll come pretty close.
Let's take a look at small cap stocks.
We're taking a look at some of the sector winners, the sector losers. Is it bullish or is it bearish?
Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is New York's only 24-hour source for breaking business news and market-moving headlines. Bloomberg 1130. Now, a global news update. At least one member of Congress is calling for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to be impeached. Democrat from New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, making the comment on CNN's State of the Union, arguing Thomas's failure to report lavish gifts and hospitality from a GOP donor constitutes a conflict of interest and breaks the law. She says it's the House's duty now to pursue an investigation. The Department of Justice will appeal a federal judge's ruling out of Texas to suspend FDA approval of the abortion pill mifepristone. Conservative Judge Matthew Kaczmarek suspended the FDA's approval of the drug and issued a stay that will halt its prescription and distribution. Tiger Woods has pulled out of the Masters tournament because of a recurring injury. The golf legend tweeted the news this morning, said he was disappointed, but wished good luck to the other players. And that wish might extend to the weather surrounding the event. Play had to be suspended again Saturday due to rain. Woods has won the Masters 5 times. I'm Scott Kahn.
There's an expert from the Machine Intelligence Research Institute who says that if there is not AI development, literally everyone on Earth will die. Would you agree that does not sound good?
Your delivery, Peter, is quite something.
I love her face there. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre reacting to a question from our own Fox News' Peter Ducey about a report that future AI development could be the end of humanity. We're back now with our panel. We are laughing about this, but there are people who take this very seriously. I want to read something from the New Atlas. The case for how and why AI may kill us all. Let's be clear from the outset, if we agree that artificial superintelligence has a chance of wiping out all life on Earth, there doesn't seem to be much we can do about it anyway. Who's going to make the laws? U.S. Congress, the United Nations? I mean, Josh, who gets a handle on this thing?
It's pretty scary stuff. And, what's really alarming is, we're relying on 70 and 80-year-old senators and congressmen to possibly regulate this technology, many of whom don't even know how to use their smartphone, and we're relying on them to deal with this really, really remarkable new technology. I don't trust, as much concern I have about the new technology and how it's handled going forward, I don't know if I trust our lawmakers to handle the regulation of such an important sector.
Well, Bill Gates on the Rockman Review podcast said there's nothing to worry about. Here's part of what he said. It's fine. There's no threat. He talks about your ability to research articles or have things summarized for you will help you write better. He says we're backlogged in terms of educators and doctors. And so, Mark, this is actually going to be a positive.
Yeah, so this is Easter Sunday, the day of the resurrection, so I'm not going along with the humanity is doomed narrative here today. Look, AI, we can't be Luddites about this. Every technology that has emerged in human history has over time made the world better. The printing press, the industrial revolution, it displaced some people at first, but it's lifted billions of people out of poverty. So like AI, for example, scientists just used AI to come up with a antibiotic for antibiotic-resistant bacteria. They had AI analyze 100 million different molecules and come up with the one that could defeat these antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Humanity couldn't have done that. But on the other hand, that same technology could come up with a bioweapon. So, we're entering a new period where where mankind has to harness this, like we have in every other technology throughout history, harness this for the cause of good, make sure that bad people can't use it to cause harm, and we'll be better off in the long run.
I agree with Mark, but China has absolutely no interest in that, right? It's related to any technology. They have an anti-Western agenda. They have an agenda to collect on us in every means possible. I totally agree with you, Mark, on America's perspective, but we have to understand that bad rogue actors around this world, like the Chinese Communist Party, want to take this technology and light it on fire as it relates to collecting it and weaponizing it against us.
But that's why we can't pause. We have to be ahead of them on it. We have to be the leader in the world.
We don't know who would regulate it, to Josh's point, the United Nations. Who's going to regulate it? The Chinese? TikTok is already a huge problem. You look at the idea that they can manufacture a Fox News Sunday panel and make people think we're saying things that we're not saying. It's really troubling. It's disruptive to our politics. We know this from the past election cycles. I won't mention one in particular because everybody will explode. But we know about disinformation, misinformation, spin, trolls, and the like.
You mean Twitter and the 2020?
Well, you talk to NPR about Twitter.
Okay, wait, I want to make sure that we get to another big headline-making story this week. This ProPublica report on Justice Thomas saying that he was having secret vacations with a high-dollar donor. He has issued a statement that says in part that he's been longtime friends with Harlan Crow, that he was advised early on that this personal hospitality did not turn into business before the court, did not have to be reportable. Ben Olinsky over at Center for American Progress says this: Congress must investigate the breach of ethical conduct and call on Thomas to testify at a public hearing. Long past time for Congress to pass legislation that requires Supreme Court justices to be subject to the same binding ethics and recusal rules as other federal judges. And Morgan, right now they're not. They have I would say they have a different set of rules, but they don't have a set of rules.
Yeah, I think that there's two different discussions here. One is the ethics discussion and what Supreme Court justices should have to sign up on. I think most common sense Americans watching your show this morning are going to want the highest ethical reporting standard for the Supreme Court justices, the same thing that members of Congress have to abide by. That's fine. The second issue here is that there is a vehement response to go after Justice Thomas from the left ever since his confirmation hearing. And the way that they go after him and the antagonistic nature is different even from the other Supreme Court justices. One has to ask himself why they target him the way that they do.
Well, I think the integrity of the court is at stake here. And it's been for a while with Justice Thomas, who's a friend. So let's put that out there. But I'm going to tell you something. I think that when you understand that he is palling around with people like Harlan Crow, these aren't people, as Sheldon Whitehouse, the senator, said this week, who have an interest in a case in the court. These are the people who make a business of the court. People like Leonard Leo, the Federalist. This is who he's hanging out with. I'm just telling you, they are interested. It is true. They're interested in controlling certain speech, and I just think it's troublesome.
But Crow has not had cases or business.
No, not specifically.
Harlan Crow is a wonderful person, kind person, and he's been caught up and attacked in this, which is just shameful. Justice Thomas didn't do anything wrong.
There's no evidence of corruption, but boy, this looks bad.
We gotta go, and so you're gonna have to pay extra to see during the commercial how this conversation. Thank you, panel. We'll see you next Sunday. Up next, TV host, best-selling author Kathy Lee Gifford talks to me about her new passion project.